Welcome to another bonus edition of the Exchange Coffee Podcast, the second in a series of recordings from the 2024 Specialty Coffee Expo in Chicago. This one's a doubleheader, a bonus on top of a bonus. In the first half, Mark and Todd talk with Jay Kling, green coffee buyer for Irving Farm and founder of Efficiency.coffee. In the second half, Mark and Todd talk with the folks from a startup company called Tannen that makes mouth rinse designed specifically for coffee drinkers. While this topic isn't coffee precisely, it is coffee adjacent and an interesting talk with some entrepreneurs who actually launched their company at the SCA Expo. And now, here they are, Mark and Todd.
Okay, yeah, here we are again. I mean, this is
Saturday.
We're getting Saturday. Day two, April 13th, 2024. We're here in Chicago at SCA 2024. We have, quite an energy in the room, I'll say. But here we are nestled in Kovoya's podcasting booth. And we were lucky enough to have Jay Kling join us. Jay has a lot going on, and I really wanted to invite you for knowing your credentials as a green coffee buyer, and also the project you've kind of begun over the last year, maybe a little longer. Maybe it's been floating around in your head longer than that. But we want to give you a platform to kind of talk about it. And then pull in, of course, Mark Inman, everyone's favorite curmudgeon, to try and foil your presentation of self and overshadow us all, which is really what happens.
Foil everyone's great dream.
Just kidding. No, to just kind of talk through, what you have going in a way to shine a good light on it. So
yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. It's really nice to be here. It's really exciting.
Awesome. So Jay, if you wouldn't mind, just introduce yourself. You can give us like the quick bits on how you've gotten to where you are in coffee.
Yeah.
Where you are in coffee, or where you see that you
how
are
you
in
got
coffee.
into coffee.
Yeah, and then we'll set up from there. We'll have it, and I'll hold Mark at bay as long as I can, but no promises.
Seems like a liability here.
Well, great. Yeah, it's super exciting to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
I have a really, I think, unique journey to coffee, and it's been a really special weekend, actually. It feels like one of those times in my life when everything sort of feels like, oh, I'm in the right place, like at the right time, and that's been really nice this weekend. I came to coffee from college. I was a business student. I kind of just went to college the way a lot of people go to college, like, I don't know. And then
as long as it's not like high school, I'm in.
Right.
Yeah.
And what part of the U.S. did you go to college?
I went to college in Syracuse, New York. Syracuse
New
University.
York.
I'm from Buffalo, New York, north of Buffalo.
Mighty Taco.
Yeah, Mighty Taco. Go Bills. And right away I did a project about the specialty coffee industry because I liked coffee. I liked drinking coffee, but I didn't know very much about the industry. And that project was like an industry analysis about coffee and specialty coffee. And right away I started reading about Stumptown and Intelligentsia and counterculture and sort of that era of specialty coffee buyers who were disrupting the supply chain and trying to bring more value to producers while also delivering a really high quality product. And I became fascinated with it. And I kind of built on that project and for the next 4 years and ended up building myself sort of a degree around being a specialty coffee buyer, like a combination of supply chain management and entrepreneurship and Spanish language. And then while I was still in college, I started an importing company with a friend of mine who's from southern Ecuador. We were trying to bring coffees from Loja to the US, like really beautiful coffees that weren't getting out of the country. And we like totally got our ass kicked. It was like a disaster.
What year is this that you were doing this?
This was 2015.
And what was the name of that company?
It was Café de Reyes.
Okay.
We never imported any coffee. It was,
you never did?
No.
Thank God.
And thank goodness. We were like looking at, like...
So you didn't really get your ass kicked because...
No.
That was not the right way to
do it.
No,
exactly. It could have been like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it was like 6 months and $20,000. It just was like a lot of time and energy, and then it was like this isn't gonna work.
No way are we jumping.
It was we got to a point where we were like, well, we'll bring the coffee in and we'll like put it in your basement, in Buffalo. And then it was like, we're not gonna do this. This is gonna be impossible. We like totally didn't understand. But I really learned a lot. I mean, I was way over my head, and there were so many people in coffee at that time who were so gracious with me, and I would go into these meetings like no idea what I'm talking about, and everybody was really nice. Nobody was like you're wasting my time,
Yeah.
Even though I was, wasting everybody's
Fundamentally, I look back and I was wasting their time.
And that was really interesting. And then I moved to New York City, and I had a handful of jobs working, mostly doing like wholesale sales, trying to learn about coffee. And then I backpacked around South America for a little while. Byron Holcomb of the Covoya team let me follow him around in Brazil for a month and ask him questions about coffee. He taught me how to cup coffees and taught me all about processing. And that was when I really started, learning about coffee. And then I moved back to New York, and I got a job with Irving Farm and did a little bit of sales, and then became the green coffee buyer at Irving Farm. And I've been doing that for the last 5 years.
Wow, fantastic.
And from being a green coffee buyer, I found like the skills that I had built in college and the supply chain management skills like translated really well. I think it's been really fun. And I think from a lot of the people that I've met in the industry, that's a part of green coffee buying where I think there's a lack of resources for new green coffee buyers with like, how do I do proper forecasting and what spreadsheet skills do I need to be a really good coffee buyer? And especially for sustainability minded companies, if you want to go pay a really equitable price for coffee and you want to sell that coffee at a price that is a good deal for your customer and you want to make money, you're going to compete in a saturated market, you can't really make mistakes in supply chain management that cost you a bunch of money because you'll never make money. And so I see that piece of green buying as sort of like a barrier to sustainability in green coffee for some companies. If you make a bunch of mistakes. It certainly has not
been the perceived value of the role, despite it being the actual monetary value of the role.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think in coffee, we talk a lot about cupping and going to Ethiopia and stuff. And it's like, those are the sexy parts of the job
awesome.
and are awesome.
Great.
And so I'm trying to produce and give away resources about how to build spreadsheets and how to do demand
and
forecasting.
That brings us to this other
That's my project. Yeah, that's what I do now.
What do you call it, and how does that work? I mean, you're saying you give away and sell these resources. How does that work? What is it called? Where do people find you?
Yeah, my project is called Efficiency.coffee. It's www.efficiency.coffee. And the idea with the project is that website is a base of free resources for people who are green buyers who want to sort of hone that skill set. The free resources on the website are designed for people who are just starting a coffee company. So maybe you're buying 50 bags or even 5 bags a year. Just start off doing a really good job so that as you scale, you'll scale really sustainably and can focus on running a really efficient business. Or for people who have maybe come in as a green buyer for a larger company who are trying to build out that part of their skill set. So there's spreadsheets there about how to do demand forecasting and how to calculate your cost of production and build a buying plan, and then also articles about green buying and inventory management fundamentals.
Wow, and this is a free resource.
It's free, yeah.
This is amazing.
Right, you should check it out.
Well, of course
we've been trying to really
sharpen my skills.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's known it's a problem for a long time.
One of these years I'll get there. Yeah. That's
awesome.
phenomenal. Yeah, that's. I mean, how many SA classes have been given about this subject matter, and to have a database somewhere to go is great. I'm surprised you're doing it for free. I'd
imagine that there's also the possibility of engaging you
services on top of that.
I also like I'm a consultant. There are people that hire me. So if you're a larger company and you're like, we need help now.
Right.
Certainly, people pay me to help them come manage their inventory or build systems. Yeah. But I think the free stuff, honestly, I think it's a place that we need to get better as an industry. And this weekend's been really special. I think I had an opportunity to go to an event that Jeff Watts organized on Thursday night called Oscillations, where he was having people speak about coffee. And so it was cool to sort of be at that space and hear people talking about sustainability and what the future of sustainability looks like. And the last 5 years in coffee, I've been really inspired by agroforestry in coffee and sort of thinking about coffee plants not as a monoculture where we're competing for resources with each other, but as a system. We're all part of a system, and we need to take what we need to thrive from that system. But for the system to prosper, we also need to give something back to the system and become a member of that system. And so I try to think about my role in the industry and my business as sort of who am I in this agroforestry system of specialty coffee? Yeah. And so certainly, people pay me to work, and I have this amazing job, and I get to travel and cup coffees and speak about coffee. But I also, the free stuff, it's what I want to give back to the industry. I want other people to have the skills that they need to be really good, sustainable buyers.
Yeah. I'm sure it not only, it's not like you would create it simply as a lead stream, but the better that someone is prepared to engage someone else in the business, the better partner they can be.
Absolutely.
That's a huge part of like
why
we have created this podcast, and here we are at the show trying to interview people we respect and admire what they're up to. Trying to amplify, new products in the marketplace,
right.
or test things that some of us think are amazing. Some of us may think are less amazing. But the idea that you can have a resource that's out there that's easily accessible, that like raises the level that people are at entry. It's like, the conversations that you look back on and you're like, I was fundamentally wasting that person's time. They get much better. I'm sure people who approach you through the lens of the resources you're distributing for free raises the level of the conversations you can have with them, as time goes on. I know it's still very fresh, so time will tell. But
we'll see. It's pretty new. But yeah, it's been really exciting. I'm getting a lot of joy out of doing it and the conversations that I've been able to have.
I love that.
It's been great.
Yeah,
I gave a lecture yesterday and I was shocked there was like over 100 people there. People were really engaged and it was amazing. So
well, I mean, that's a no-brainer that people would show up to that. That's something that I think most small to mid-sized companies struggle with, and that will always be a hook to do classes like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure that your site will be flooded because of that presentation.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
What's coming? I mean, you have your resource base, you're doing all this work. I mean, is there something beyond just kind of distribution, people checking out Efficiency.coffee? Are there ways people should anticipate new things from you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to publish a new newsletter article once a month. And the last 5 have all been about inventory management fundamentals for people managing green coffee in a roastery warehouse. I've sort of done what I wanted to do there, and so I don't know actually what's next.
Okay.
It's part of the thing I'm excited about with this trade show is talking to people and sort of
see where the needs
trying to learn, what do people need information on, or if there are people who feel like they're really good at something and want to share that perspective. I think it's a conversation that we've had, Todd. What is it that I need to know as a green coffee buyer at a small company to do a good job? And I think part of that is what's the role of your importer.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other things. So hopefully some resources coming about what your importer does and how you can interact with them and make it easy for them to help you run a really good business and how to use them as a resource.
Sure.
And also producer perspectives about I think we could do a better job at the specialty industry of traveling to origin in a way that creates value more than we're doing right now in some cases. And so maybe resources there. I'm not sure what's next, but I'm excited to have some more conversations and figure out what I want to write about next.
Awesome. Yeah, well, at this point in our interview, it's typically when I open the gate and allow Mark to come out with whatever
I don't have any bombastic. I mean, I am 100% on board with what he's pitching. I think it's a fantastic idea. It's something that when I was getting started in the industry would have been invaluable to have those tools. I think it's incredible. And I think that the only bombastic thing I want to do is plug the website again, which is Efficiency.coffee. I think that people should go there.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, these shows for me used to look like very little time to meet with partners and customers, suppliers at the booth. I was volunteering, teaching classes on roasting and purchasing and stuff within the Heritage SCAA, curriculum. But I was spending I think one show I taught every session that was available, and this was 3 hours morning, 3 hours afternoon, morning, afternoon, morning. I might have spent 45 minutes on the show floor.
Right.
And so I've always really valued, and I created lasting relationships with people who are on their way into the business. I learned a ton because the best way that you learn is to teach, right? Or to try and prepare these resources. You're like, wait a minute, what is the best way of this being translated and communicated? And there's a huge vacuum. I know that these curriculums are still out there. They're still being distributed. But there's been a massive change in the last 5 years in North America around the quality, availability of these different training programs. And I think it's really awesome to know that there's someone like you entering that space in this type of way, easily accessible, fully digital. I assume that your newsletter is like a elect in type digital put your email in at the website.
Yeah, if you get on my website, there's a box on the front page. You can go enter your email, and it'll put you on the list.
And I mean, it's just good stuff to chew on. I mean, I think we aspire to create, not only entertaining content, but meaningful content in the same spirit. So it's cool to sit together, and we're appreciative of you taking a few minutes. Anything before we let you go that you feel like you need to plug, or ways to promote yourself, or anything that anyone who's listening should know about you, Jay, before I
guess the only two things I would want to say about before it ends is, like, one, that I think if you aren't comfortable in Excel or using spreadsheets, or you don't have a strong background in business skills, it can feel intimidating. But the Excel skills that you need to build an inventory management system are very, very basic.
Right.
If you're a Q grader, that's so hard to become a Q grader. Even if you're a good cupper, if you know how to roast coffee well, those things are really, really hard. The Excel skills that you need to be a good inventory manager, you can learn, in 5 hours watching YouTube videos. It's basic stuff. And so I want to stress, like, anyone can do this, and it's a really easy tool to sharpen. And then I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be here. I mean, both of you are such, like, people I have so much respect for in the industry, and it's so cool.
Mark is a stalwart of coffee knowledge. Standing in Mark's shadow has been one of the greatest joys of my career, so I fully understand what you're talking about there.
Yes, that's true, Todd.
No, it's really kind of you to say.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
Awesome.
Yep.
But we are all swimming in the same pool, and it is it's nice to do. So
yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure meeting you. I'm really glad you came here. This is an interesting one this morning. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is really nice.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
All right. So Todd, I always like to, whenever I go to the conferences, I always like to find products that seem out of left field and are super fun but super interesting. And I ran across these guys this morning, and actually I was there before you guys even got to your booth, and I took a bunch of pictures of it. And it's like, all right, I got to figure out what these guys are about. So then I went and met you guys this morning. These are folks from Tannen. This is a mouthwash specific for coffee drinkers, and I was curious as to your story, how you guys got into this. And then we're going to actually do an on-air taste test, Todd.
I couldn't be more excited. I mean, this is so different for me.
I know.
Yeah, we're pumped to be on. Thanks for having us, guys.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, and just to give you a little bit of backstory, this really started for us, really because of that combo passion of coffee and oral health. And I know it sounds a little strange, but I was finding myself just frustrated by drinking a lot of coffee, and at the end of it, I would feel that kind of weird taste in my mouth, and it would linger. And I've always struggled with cavities, and I would use a straw to drink coffee, and so I started researching a little bit more, and I found that most dentists would recommend waiting 30 minutes after your last sip to brush your teeth. So I tried that for a month and realized that was completely unrealistic. Once I drink my coffee, I'm ready to go. And so from there, we started to, and I talked to these guys, they were having similar issues, and we started working towards developing something that would really balance your mouth after coffee, re-moisturize the mouth, and uniquely target the harmful effects of coffee. We're also very pro-coffee, and I think it's important we say that. This is not is not a negative thought on coffee, but
and I think on top of the more literal oral care pain points, there was also the social impact. I felt like when I had coffee breath, or felt like my breath was a little stale. I mean, I truly didn't really want to talk to people as actively as I might want to talk normally, because I was totally self-conscious about just thinking oh shoot, does my breath smell? Am I too close to them? All those sort of thoughts going in your head that are just really going to kind of impact that connection you're going to have with someone. It doesn't matter what kind of conversation it is, whether it be work, something serious, or just passing by or connecting with a friend.
Interesting. And your backgrounds, are you chemists? Are you dentists? Are you just alchemists? What was your background to make you want to create this product?
So we are not dentists, but to make this happen, we have had to, it takes a village, like any good thing. So we've consulted with a lot of dentists. We've consulted with baristas to really get the flavor profile, and worked with chemists at this point quite a bit to nail down the formula. It's all natural, so we're using all natural ingredients, and a lot of the latest research, things like xylitol, aloe vera, glycerin, that really work in a way that's not too intrusive on the mouth.
Yeah, we kind of like started with what is coffee doing and what does it actually do, and why do we experience what we experience because of it. And then we wanted to take a very natural approach, so we started doing a lot of research on just kind of natural ingredients, but also what are active and inactive ingredients currently in different mouthwashes and oral care remedies. And we sort of just like triangulated everything that we had found to create a really targeted solution to coffee specifically.
So, yeah, I mean, to that point, what fundamentally makes this different than like a typical mouth rinse or mouthwash? What are the biggest differentiators? Give us 2 or 3.
No, I'd say that one is it's totally alcohol free. So that I think that's a big thing, and it's alkaline. So most coffees you're running somewhere in 4.1 to 5.5 in terms of the acidity and the pH level. This is about an 8 in terms of pH. So it's bringing you back to neutral, which is around 7 pH. So that's a big thing. Is that it's
has it always been that way? Every generation of the like prototype. Come in a product
in terms of the
has that always been like
so
that's
alkaline,
always been a part of the
totally,
strategy.
Okay. So alcohol free and alkaline is 2 things that were massively important to us.
And before we started even like really mixing the product itself, we on top of just the research we did with ingredients and everything and what I mentioned earlier, but we also did a bunch of consumer research. I mean, we literally handed out free cold brew on a huge walking trail and got people to respond to a survey, so we could understand people's oral care habits, their coffee drinking habits, and then the combination of the two to really understand like what are the pain points and kind of what are the biggest pain points in priority that people are thinking about when it comes to this, and really made it like consumer centric from the beginning.
Yeah, and I'd say another thing is that Tannen is an all natural product too, and while there are some all natural mouthwashes, mouth rinses out there, the ingredients that we chose, we wanted to specifically combat some of those harmful effects of coffee on our teeth. So the teeth staining, the coffee breath, the weakened enamel, dry mouth, etc. So while it shares a lot of similar ingredients to other mouth rinses, it's specifically created to address coffee's impact. And I was going
to say, so I want to lead back to so you sat at the base of a trail and you gave people cold brew. And then you like let them hike and get bad breath and come down and then help them out, or this research is fascinating to me.
So it was before we even had product, because this was very early
product research early on.
We wanted to understand kind of where consumers are at, because we didn't want to just create a product and then kind of, I mean, no pun intended, but shove it down people's throat. Like, we wanted it to be something that people actually wanted. So we wanted to understand where they were at now, what was on their mind, what was their pain points, and deliver something that, I mean, they quite literally told us they want.
So you're saying most people you surveyed were like, this is an issue that thank you for asking. I've never told anyone. This is a problem I need to address in my life.
So I would say the cosmetic parts, yes. The coffee breath and the yellow teeth. Yeah.
Okay.
The more kind of fundamental things like weakened enamel, tooth decay, canker sores, things that you wouldn't think that coffee's impacting, but really it's the time that your mouth is staying in that acidic state. If it's happening every day and you're not doing anything after, it really creates a ripe environment for cavities and for things to happen.
Compounding effect.
So people don't have that knowledge, and so that's part of what we want to do is educate people. Just, hey, this is a simple way that you can complement your existing oral care routine and stay in a good place.
Well,
is this the moment right now? Is this the moment? Are we about to try some?
So I was going to suggest, and I'll we're going to try this, and we got to rinse it for how long? How many seconds?
It's about 10 to 15 seconds.
Okay, so for 10 to 15 seconds, you're going to tell us the name of your company, your website, and how people would buy this while we're swishing around. We're going to do this live. Producer Mike, Todd, and myself are going to swish away and let you plug away.
Let's go.
Todd, you ready?
This really is ideal for podcast hosts.
I'm timing it.
All right. The name of our company is Tannen. We create oral care products that are lifestyle centered, and you can find us at tannenrinse.com or at coffeerinse on Instagram. Swish and spit, fellas. Don't forget to smile too.
I can tell you out of the gate, I love the flavor of this. The moisturizing thing that you guys bring up, that's interesting because I've never had that with the mouthwash, but you can feel that
Yeah.
Mouthfeel.
I mean, a big impact of coffee is the dry mouth you feel after it. And so that was a big intention, was to help with that. No, we got it all over the studio now.
Producer Mike has got a little spillage
all over the beard.
Todd, thoughts here?
Oh, I mean, it's invigorating, that's for sure. I mean, I'm trying to latch on. I mean, it has, like, for me, the biggest differentiating characteristic from like an experience sensory standpoint is probably the tactile, kind of the mouthfeel. Like, it almost has more of like a I hesitate to say oily, because I think oily has a negative connotation, but it's like smooth in a way that like an alcohol base wouldn't be, right? Like, there's not a weight to like an alcohol based mouthwash. Right. So this is interesting that way. I think flavor wise it's super spot on. What type of format do you sell the product in? Did you say that while I was how is it sold?
Yeah, I think we're trying to do a little bit of everything in a way. I mean, we want consumers to be able to get it directly online. We also want to work directly with coffee shops. We want to meet people where they're at already.
See, so we had talked about this earlier, because my brain just constantly churns of ideas. So the first idea I had was, how cool would it be in a coffee shop if you go to the bathroom and there was a dispenser and a cup after you had coffee? That would stand out in a shop for me. I would be like, whoa, that's something unusual. And I could see you guys creating a dispenser and little plastic cups, and a shop totally being interested in having that in the bathroom. And you're going to use a lot of that product at that point. But I like that oiliness that you talked about. That to me is the moisturizing part. That's what I'm getting by it. And I really like the product.
Is anyone else getting a slight like anesthetic type of sensation? Is that
like
intentional?
A slight numbing?
Yeah, like I have like a little bit of oh, okay. I'm losing my ability to talk.
Yeah, we ran some focus groups, and we found that the burning sensation, which is typically found in alcohol-based, and then also the numbing sensation, is something that, while it's, a lot of people said it's a little overly strong in those alcohol-based products, they still like it a little bit, because it kind of tells people they know it's working, right? Yeah, and so we wanted to still have a little bit of that sensation to sort of create that relationship that people already have with mouth rinse, really.
But without the harmful, some of the harmful effects, some harsher products.
So you're saying this is safer. What's causing it? It's interesting to me. It's the only thing I would actually say is like I think if I had this, if I weren't surrounded by people who I could support my body weight, if I fell over, I might be a little worried. Honestly, it's a bit intense, but I also feel like I must be the only one having as intense a reaction.
It's also like the first time you have coffee, it's pretty intense, but the more you have it, the more it starts to normalize.
For sure.
But yeah, so it's actually the menthol, which we don't use any flavorings or anything, so it's all natural flavoring. And so it's the menthol in it, which gives it a little bit of that minty feel, but it also gives you a little numbing sensation.
Yeah, no, it certainly, it kind of almost has a sensation like after you've had a cough drop or something, not in a flavor way, or right. I know this is all probably horrifying you that I'm giving.
No, I think it's good. It's actually, we found that people really like a little bit of that.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I mean, it's certainly like, it's very unique. This is not your mom's mouthwash.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is, for those listeners out there that do follow Todd and Mark's recommendations, this is not your mother's mouthwash. I'm losing the name of, there's another natural brand of mouthwash that, what's it called?
TheraBreath, maybe?
Yeah. That one, it's the same way, where it's doing more than just like a scope or something, which is just blasting your mouth with alcohol and killing it. And I actually much prefer this to what I've tasted before. When I tasted it earlier today, I was impressed with the product. The best part about this story, like what you have not asked yet, is how long have these guys been in business? How long have you guys been in business?
Launched today.
Launched today.
This is the moment.
We've
been building up to this.
And they've got like a
conference.
Shark Tank style pitch down pat right now.
It's very cool. How has the response been at the show? Here we are at CA 2024, Chicago. What's the feedback so far?
I would say it's been truly better than like better than I could have imagined. Yeah, and just really meeting some incredible people, some really cool contacts, and honestly, just a lot of people who like want to see it succeed, which is the coolest part.
Yeah, it's been surreal. It's funny seeing people's reaction when they stumble across the booth, being a little confused while there's an oral care company at a coffee show, and then once they get to learn more about it, it's exciting to be the people who get to sort of explain how oral care actually is very much a part of coffee as well.
One guy actually came up, probably wildest interaction I've had so far. I know it's only day one, but he said he gives his horse coffee and asked if his horse could use tannin. I didn't have an answer for him.
Said, let us know how that goes. We've also had a couple of foreigners that came up and didn't really understand what we were saying. They just took it and just swallowed it straight.
Is that an issue?
You know, thankfully it's all natural ingredients, so you're going to be fine. But we, you know, legally we can't say we'd recommend it.
Yeah,
it is swish and spit.
For the record.
Maybe a future product.
Yeah. No, as someone who's attending this show where I'm in near constant conversation, I think this product, at the minimum for this show, and then it's 15,000 some odd attendees, should be part of like the bag you receive at the door. I mean, I have had some hairy interactions as it relates to breath. So really grateful for you guys swinging through.
Thanks,
Wish you all the success in the world. This was cool. Mark, thanks for drawing the connection.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
My
Thanks for what you
pleasure.
do.
Thanks, guys, and best of luck on your business.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
You've been listening to a bonus episode of The Exchange, part of the Exchange Coffee Podcasting Network, presented by Kavoya Specialty Coffee and produced by me, Mike Ferguson. Our opening theme was A Sip of Coffee to Relieve the Stress by Katzen Tupas. Our break and closing music is Breath of Gods by Abada Music, because we were talking about coffee breath. You can contact us with thoughts, questions, or to tell us about your fever dreams involving spreadsheets at mike.ferguson@kavoya.com. Thanks for listening, and here's your postscript.
I mean, I've had to put up with a lot of Mark Inman, which is...
Just taking pictures with some fans over there a minute ago. Did you see that?
It's never really
I was
my
going to bring you
preference,
over. They didn't ask us to take a picture with you.
If I'm honest.
Yeah.